Now for the top story tonight. What about affluent Americans who want to pay more in taxes? Last night I told you I wouldn't mind paying 5% more in income tax, but not until the federal government drastically cuts back spending and begins to monitor where the money is going. Hello, Solindra. With us now, Dr. Eric Schoenberg, professor at Columbia Business School and a member of the Responsible Wealth Project. Also, Dave Mejias, family law attorney and high-wage earner. Now, counselor, am I being unreasonable wanting the feds to first cut spending and monitor where the tax money's going?
Well, what are you going to cut first? Social Security? Are you going to not pass a jobs bill? Are you going to cut Medicaid? Cutting government right now would put more people out of work, would affect state and local governments even more than it ever has in the past.
So you wouldn't cut anything?
I would cut some things, but you don't have enough to cut to cover our deficit. We're spending more than we're taking in this
Correct,
government.
a lot more. And all right, almost 2 to 1. Now, I hope that was a question directed at me, counsel. What would I cut? 10% across the board. Every department goes down 10%. And then we rework the entitlements like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, not to affect people over 40, but the younger people. We rework it into a system that's fair and balanced. Now, doctor, if you want to pay more income tax, and I assume you do, correct?
I do.
You've been fortunate in your life?
I have been very fortunate.
You can. Did you last year write a check to the government above the amount that you were required to pay?
I did not.
Why?
However...
Why did you not?
Well, the whole point about, taxes are the price we pay for civilization. And the whole
but
idea
why didn't you pay more tax last year when you could have?
What I did was to take the amount I would have owed under the old tax rates before the Bush tax cuts.
39.6.
And I paid the difference between what I paid now and what I would have paid, and I gave it to charitable donations.
Very noble. President Obama would cut the charitable deduction under his new revenue-raising plan. Okay, now that's going to hurt charity. What do you think about that?
Well, I think there is a huge problem in terms of the overall level of deductions we allow people to take.
Charitable deductions?
I put including charitable
Really?
deductions. But let me point to the single biggest factor, the single biggest difference in what wealthy Americans pay versus the average working American, which is the difference between income tax rates on regular labor income for people who work for a living and people who earn their income from capital gains.
That's right.
Qualified
this is
dividends.
the Warren Buffett argument that 15% in capital gains is not enough, and you subscribe to that,
I
right?
totally agree with that.
Don't you, though, understand that if you raise capital gains to the income tax level, that people like me who invest aren't going to invest so much because the risk-reward drops. It's far too risky to then pay 40% to the government on any of my gains when my losses, I can't deduct it all up to anything over $3,000. The risk-reward, so that you get less investment in America from abroad, particularly, less investment. Well, what is that going to do for the economy, doctor?
Well, you asked me the question whether I agree, and the answer is I disagree.
You think people would invest at the same rate?
We
had
capital gains rates of 70% in this country up until Reagan in 1982, and we had as much growth over the period of the 50s and 60s as we've seen since that time.
But as we all know,
more growth and broader share.
But doctor, as you know, as somebody who teaches economics, there were so many shelters in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that these people never paid that kind of money, ever. Now, do you, the counselor, do you understand my argument that if you raise capital gains tax in the middle of a recession, the stock market's going to go down 3,000 points?
I don't know anybody that doesn't see a good investment and put the money in that if they have to pay a little bit more taxes.
You don't agree either.
I would put money into a good investment if it was going to make money, if I was paying 15% in taxes.
But you don't know if it's going to make
39% in taxes.
It's always a risk in the stock market.
But you don't,
nobody knows.
It is a risk, but it's an assumed risk after you've done your due diligence to make sure it's a decent, it is a decent investment.
So you guys are both sitting here telling me you must know if the cap gains tax is raised, the stock market's going to go down 3,000 points.
I'm not saying it should go to 40%, but perhaps 20 or 25%.
It's still going to go down.
But there's no payroll tax on that. The working poor, middle-class Americans, people who are unemployed and underemployed are paying a higher percentage of their income in payroll taxes and property taxes.
I'm going to ask you the same question I asked the professor. Did you give the government more money last year? Did you voluntarily write them a check?
Absolutely not. Because everybody should be doing it. My check is not going to make a difference.
Wait. You're a man of principle, are you not, counselor?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you want to pay higher taxes, do you not?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't write the check.
Oh, I want everyone to pay higher taxes.
Oh, so if everyone does it, you're not gonna? That doesn't sound principled to me.
I, too, gave more than the difference to charity, but at the same time, It's not my check to the government is not going to pay for the jobs bill. It's not going to pay down the deficit.
But you set a good example.
I do think, yeah, I would.
If every guy like you two guys, would send more money to the government, I think you'd be more sympathetic. I'll give you the last word, Doctor. Go ahead.
Well, I would simply make the point that in World War II, we didn't rely on voluntary enrollment in the Army. We had a draft, the notion being everybody should share in the sacrifice. You know, I know you recently published a book about Abraham Lincoln, calling him our greatest president, which I'd agree with, in large part because of how much he was willing to sacrifice for his notion of what America was.
And I am too, and I think a lot of my audience would pay higher taxes, but they first want to see the government slash the spending and watch where the money goes. No more Solyndras. Gentlemen, thanks for coming in. Very good debate. We really appreciate it.